A warm welcome to all of you and a heartfelt namaste. I, Anuradha, would like to thank all of you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to our YouTube and Spotify channels and writing in your view and your suggestions there. Today, we are going to talk about retrograde planets. Retrograde planets with a twist because we want to understand what is the effect of retrograde planets in Prashna. To begin with, I'd like to put forward this disclaimer. There are many branches of astrology stemming from Parashari, and each branch will have its own way of deciphering things, including that of retrograde planets. There are some branches which negate any happening when the retrograde planet is present. However, the views that I put forward here are my own, and they've come from repeated practice, from what I have seen, how things work out in the charts. So when we talk about retrograde planets in Prashna, we really do need to understand first what is the character of a retrograde planet. When we have a retrograde planet which is associated with the Prashna, there can be many planets in the chart, and some of them may not be associated with the house that we're talking about in the Prashna. So then they may not have that much of impact on the chart. But if I'm talking about, say, the 6th house or the 8th house, and that planet is retrograde, definitely there is a chance of things working out. In fact, what I did see was there was a planet in the 8th house for somebody who put forward a Prashna about getting well. And I had seen that there was a retrograde planet in the 8th house. And I said, this is a recurring disease. This is a disease which a person has had somewhere in the past and was undergoing treatment for it, and this disease has relapsed. Obviously, the answer came as an yes. Why? Because retrograde also talks about recurring. The 8th house is the house of disease, and the planet situated there will show that it has come back after a relapse. So when we talk about a retrograde planet, it also shows repetition. As I told you about the case that I had gone through or just not talked about, that shows a repetition of something happening. It can happen in any number of any place. Now, when we talk about retrograde, it is also about revision. Now somebody talks to me about say about education. Somebody had put forward the question about education, saying that, do you think I would be able to get through this exam? Now if I have to get through an exam which is competitive in nature, I have to see if I have studied well enough for that. There was a retrograde planet in Mula Nakshatra. So I just asked the person, have you revised enough? Do you think your revision was up to the mark? So the person hesitated, which gave me my answer. I said, since your revision was not up to the mark, you would be needing to sit for this exam once more, having done your basics very thoroughly, because Mula Nakshatra shows a lot of basic education. Now, when we talk about then many number of instances when people may ask us, will my past lover come back? Will my friendship with somebody XYZ be returned to normal? Or I have lost something and will it come back to me? So we need to understand the retrograde planet also shows return. In case of a lost object, in case of a lost friend, in case of a person who's gone away from you, will they return? I think yes, they will return, because it talks about, retrograde talks about coming back, especially Venus. If Venus is retrograde in during a Prashna chart, and somebody is asking about a past friend, lover, relationship, then definitely that person is likely to come back in your life, especially if it's connected to 1, 5, 7, 9, 11 houses. And if you're talking about retrograde again, say somebody is talking about investments, somebody is talking about money, somebody is talking about children, and you find a retrograde Jupiter somewhere, or you find a retrograde 5th lord somewhere, or you find a retrograde second lord, 11th lord, you know for certain that there will be delays, because retrograde generally shows a pause and then a work, because there might be delays, but these delays will finally convert into something beautiful, and it will happen not just once but twice. So you may have multiple sources of income, you might have multiple children, more than one child. So all these things are possible. Now let us look at a chart. Not just one, let us take up a couple of charts. In this chart, somebody had asked me that their house was, if you look at the date, you will see that it is right in the bang in the middle of pandemic when I had got this question. And they had asked a question as to when would we be able to build a house according to our needs. The fourth lord needs to be taken into account here, and the ninth lord. Why the ninth lord? Because Oja ji, Ashutosh Oja ji says that when we talk about the ninth house, especially when we are building a home, a beautiful home, then we like to build it according to our status. So the ninth house is also very important, and the ninth lord is also very important. Fourth house definitely shows your home. Incidentally, in this chart, both the fourth lord and the ninth lord, that is Mars as well as Mercury, are both retrograde. And Jupiter happens to be the 12th and lord and the dispositor of Mars, and happens to be in the 12th house aspecting the 4th house. So Mars is all about construction. So what I told the person would be was that there would be pauses. I had told you earlier on that Mars, that retrograde planets denote pauses. There would be pauses in the construction, and there would be breakups time and time again. Things would be needed to be broken, and then they would again be made. And because Jupiter as the 12th lord is aspecting the 4th house, there would be a multiple expense that a person would have to bear. Now, another thing that we should have also seen is that the 9th lord is also retrograde. So the 9th lord here talks about you wanting the house according to yourself, up to your status, and because it is in the 10th house, more so because you would like to make it a beautiful thing for others to appreciate also. And as a 6th lord, Mercury itself is a very finicky planet, and as a 6th lord, it gets that finickiness par excellence. And so because you would want things to happen your way, because you would want to do things in a particular manner, you might just end up repeating those things till they are perfect. Another chart, the chart, and this is exactly what happened with these people, and they have been trying to make things as beautiful, as perfect as possible. When we talk about chances of second marriage has to be seen from the 9th house. And the question was posed by a lady. So Jupiter becomes the karaka for the spouse. Here, Jupiter is Digbali and the planet of value. The question has to be very important because it is the 2nd lord and the 11th lord, and aspecting the 7th house. Not only that, it is also aspecting the 9th house. But this Jupiter is retrograde. As we had talked earlier in our video, we saw that this Jupiter does show a repetition in marriage. So when it is a talk about second marriage, yes, it holds true. There are chances of second marriage. But hold on, we also need to talk about the Lagna Lord. Who is the Lagna Lord? The Lagna Lord is Saturn. It is also retrograde, and it is retrograde in the 12th house, being the 12th Lord with the 6th Lord. 6th Lord talks about, 6th Lord here is Moon, and it talks about a lot of problems, disparities, fights, all these things, and misunderstandings. And it's with Saturn, a retrograde 12th lord. That means there would be constant fights. The problems that the person faced in the first marriage could be recurring, and the person could have the same kind of issues in the second marriage also. So the when we talk about retrograde planets, return, revision, repetition, all these things are very important. What is the question again becomes very important. So always pose the question in the most positive manner so that we get a positive answer. Till we meet with you again,
बेल आइकन को दबाएं ताकि आपको वीडियोस की अपडेट मिलती रहे। हमारे वीडियोस को लाइक करें, शेयर करें, उन पर कमेंट करें और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना न भूलें।